Welcome back, everybody. This is Sam IT. I'm Scott Allen Miller, and today, what is a VAR? So VAR, a pretty common term in the industry, but one that a lot of people may not realize, stands for Value Added Reseller. Now, that requires a little bit of explanation. I mean, not the reseller bit. We all know what a reseller is, right? That's like a store, but probably without a storefront. But it could have a storefront. There's no reason you can't. But a reseller is simply someone who takes products from a vendor and sells them on to someone else. Common things in IT might be Dell servers or Cisco switches or Microsoft Office, right? All of those things can be sold by a reseller, and you have companies that are pure resellers like Amazon. They're a reseller of many of those things, but they're not a value-added reseller. So what's a value add in terms of reselling? Well, typically, value-added resellers bring some technical skill or acumen or information to the picture. And this can vary wildly because value-added isn't very specific, and VARs vary a lot in what they do because they're kind of just trying to take advantage of whatever is needed in the market. So it's a broad category, but it simply refers to, at the highest level, being a reseller that brings more to the table. You're not just a store like Amazon or Newegg. You're doing something special, and that something special is what sets you apart. The most common things that we assume you're going to get with the majority of VARs, and is pretty much what customers are looking for, and are the features that most ITSPs and MSPs are going to be looking for when they're looking for a VAR, is they want expertise around product specifics. So their VAR is going to be able to tell them lots about the products that they sell. Like, oh, this one's popular, this one's expensive for what you get, this one is up and coming, this is where the industry is going, and things like that. They need to know, or they should know, often a lot about the logistics. Well, we can get this one in a day, but this one's cheaper, but you'll have to wait a week. Things like that. They may need to know about configurations of those devices, especially if you're selling things like servers. It's handy to know, well, this one will hold 25 small format disks, but this one will hold 12 large format, but only half as much memory. Those kinds of things can be really important, and they're not the kind of things that your MSP is very likely to know, or your internal IT department. You rely on your VAR for this kind of information most of the time. Generally, you can look these things up online, but you may not catch that you need to, and your VAR is probably versed in those things specifically. VARs are also popular with knowing about licensing, and so a lot of times you turn to a VAR to get licensing information about something like, say, Microsoft user CALs. You can often ask your VAR how many you need, and generally they're pretty good for that because it's not objective. There's simply a straightforward answer in most cases. What you generally don't want from a VAR is opinion. VARs are great for relying facts, things where they can't mislead you because they're trying to make a sale. So, how many disks fit in this chassis? 12. They can't say 10, that would be lying. They can't say 14, it would be lying. The answer's 12, it's a discrete answer. That's where it's easy to draw the line between how you want to treat a VAR versus how you don't want to treat a VAR. What you don't want to do with a VAR is say, what would you recommend? Because obviously they're salespeople, they're a store. They want to sell you the biggest, most expensive thing, or at least the thing with the highest margins, so that would be a silly thing to ask a VAR, of course. But so VARs bring lots of value, and in some cases, the VAR may be the ones who install or set up your product, because it may be a specialty product that you or your MSP don't know very much about. In some cases, this would be not very valuable in most cases. For example, you may buy a desktop from a VAR, and you know how to plug in a desktop. Your MSP can plug in a desktop. Even your secretary might be able to plug in a desktop, so you're not too worried about getting special installation services from your desktop VAR. But if you're buying something a lot more specialized, say a SAN or a high availability cluster of some sort, you may want your VAR to come in and oversee that you have the right interconnects, that you have the right types of cables, that you have the right power supplies, that you've considered things like UPS and other configuration settings within the system to make sure that it does what you expect it to do. So a VAR may vary from a very light amount of simple value adds, such as making sure that there's enough product in stock and that it can get to you on time and that all the serial numbers are recorded and that you have the proper licensing, or it may go to the other end of the spectrum and do a lot of technical installation and support work specifically on products that they sell because they have access to the ecosystem and the knowledge and the training and spend all of their time or a lot of their time on those very specific products. So VARs are a very important part of the overall IT ecosystem. They are the layer that sits just below the vendors themselves and are generally the representatives of the vendors, or in a lot of cases they sit just below the distributors. Typically you would have someone like Hewlett Packard on the very top making, say, a desktop, You would then have a distributor, such as Arrow or Ingram Micro, sitting just below them, who handle the global logistics ecosystem. And then that goes directly to the VARs, who actually handle the ordering and shipping and acknowledgement of the different components that are coming to you, so that they can ensure that you're getting the right thing for what you need. And them together represent the seller side of the equation, and all come together to be able to make the logistics work for you. So they're very important to you in IT, but it's also important to know what they are. You don't know how to interact with them if you don't know who they are. Thanks for joining me. Remember to like and subscribe. And as always, you can put your comments below, ask questions, and you can sponsor us using the link in the description for Patreon. A little bit of sponsorship on Patreon can go a long way to helping us bring you these educational videos. Talkadillo is a cloud-hosted or fully managed on-premises IP PBX platform providing businesses with simple and simply affordable voice communications. Visit Talkadillo.com and learn more about how Talkadillo can change how you view your telephones and help to support Sam IT.